everyone. Welcome back to the 5th Annual National Agenda Program, sponsored by UD's Center for Political Communication, the College of Arts and Sciences, the Center for the Study of Diversity, and the Office of the Provost, as well as the William P. Frank Foundation. I'm Lindsay Hoffman. I'm the Director of the National Agenda Program and Associate Director of the Center for Political Communication. This semester, we've been tackling some very timely issues around race in America and on this campus. We've heard from a journalist who covered the Civil Rights March from Selma to Montgomery 50 years ago. You can find that recording at udel.edu/nationalagenda. Just 2 weeks ago, we spoke to two of the most prominent faces of the Black Lives Matter movement, who, by the way, have since met with presidential candidate Hillary Clinton, as well as Bernie Sanders. And coming up, we have a political cartoonist documenting police brutality through cartoons, and an Iranian-American stand-up comedian whose latest book is called I'm Not a Terrorist, but I've Played One on TV. You can see all the details at udel.edu/nationalagenda. We're also continuing our film series this year, taking place right here in Mitchell Hall on Wednesdays this fall. That schedule can also be found online. This event is open to the public, and I encourage audience participation from both the audience here in Mitchell Hall as well as via Twitter. If you want to tweet at the account at UD Race in America, you can join the discussion, and your tweet could make it into our talk tonight. This semester at UD, there have been several incidents that suggest we need a candid conversation about race. But along with that openness and honesty, civil and respectful dialogue is expected. So if you wouldn't stand up and say it in public, don't tweet it. And here in Mitchell Hall, look around you. We're all here to get a better understanding of race in America and on this campus. Be candid, but also be courteous. Given what has happened at UD this semester, I'm pleased to introduce you to a successful and award-winning alumnus of the University of Delaware. Peter Bailey, who is currently charging his phone, is a trailblazer on the media landscape as the creator and host of the critically acclaimed docuseries NiteCap with Peter Bailey. Credited as pushing the culture forward by Rick Ross and other industry heavyweights, Bailey's introspective conversations have humanized and showcased the intellectual side of entertainers like never before. Whether he's discussing love with Waka Flocka or spirituality with Plies, his provocative conversations are routinely featured on MTV, BET, and Vibe magazine. NiteCap is also aired on NBC, The Huffington Post, and the CW. Bailey began NiteCap after penning Trick Daddy's memoir, Magic City, Trials of a Native Son, which the New York Times called the pop music gem of 2010. He attracted the attention of Trick Daddy after years of writing on the struggles of blacks in Miami, while an Enterprise staff writer at the Miami Herald. That's where Bailey says he found his voice as a writer after beginning his career as a staff reporter for Time and Newsweek in New York. Bailey made his acting debut in early 2014 in the Civil War drama, The North Star. Please join me in welcoming Peter Bailey to the University of Delaware.
Thank you, Professor Hoffman. Let me apologize. Honestly, the truth is, I was in the islands, and my father has Alzheimer's, and my mom routinely checks in with me to see how he's doing, so apologize for the delay. Thank you for being here. Thank you more for, can I? Kind of tall. Hey. Man, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that you beautiful people showed up tonight. As the professor said, I came here from the Virgin Islands, and I came to the University of Delaware, and it was a great experience in the sense that it challenged my comfort zone and that of my peers, and it changed my life. One of my professors, Dr. Dennis Jackson, was very critical in that odyssey. I'm gonna ask everyone to do something real quick. Can everybody stand for a second? We look like one beautiful, happy family, huh? I like everyone to say that we believe in more of what can be than what is. Can everybody repeat that? That fear is selfish, but courage is generous. Thanks. Can we seated? I'm gonna tell you why that's very important to me. The only reality I ever believed in was the one that I create. I'm an idealist. I think that idealists are those who push society forward, while cynics discuss what is. I had an interesting conversation, and someone told me, well, Peter, things are just the way they are. Blacks in America are gonna hate blacks, blacks in America are gonna hate whites are gonna hate blacks. And I think about Dr. King, and I say to myself, what if he believed that? What if every time he wanted to believe in something better for us, he said, to hell with it. We wouldn't be sitting there and I wouldn't be standing there. While at the University of Delaware, I wrote for the Review. And I wrote a column, and the column essentially was something that I believe. I believe that we don't really hate each other, we just don't know each other. And I wrote a column that discussed white poverty in the Appalachia region. And I wrote as to why Eminem had become such a powerful artist, that he had spoke for the impoverished whites, and how much poor blacks and poor whites have more in common than we believe. After writing the column, I got an email. And the email was from a student that said, oh man, that column was amazing, it really spoke to me. And back then I was a very polarizing person. And I said, yeah, these damn white people need to eat that. And the guy said, well, I'm white. And I'm like your biggest fan. It changed my life. It made me think about the fact that in our haste to be right, in our haste to be better than each other and prove a point, we do so much wrong trying to get the right. I've learned to be open. I've learned that help can come in the most interesting of places. Help can come from, I think a lady I see here tonight is Harriet Porter. Miss Porter came down to the Virgin Islands to recruit me to come to the school. And Professor Hoffman asked me, did I know what Delaware was? Hell no, I didn't know what Delaware was. I thought it was a town in New York or something, because being from the Caribbean, your family automatically migrates to New York or Miami. And I'm happy that I made that decision, and I'm happy Ms. Porter came down and extended that opportunity, so thank you. We're in a critical time in American history. I am a big ancient history fan. Every great civilization, as great as it was eroded from within when the populace started to separate from each other on every facet. We have a keen way in this country of, we find reasons to hate each other for everything. While discussing racism with somebody, I said that we're intelligent people. The very concept of racism is not intelligent. Intelligence is understanding, just how much do you understand? So if you're telling me you dislike me because of a phenotypic trait, like skin color, which was created to separate us, are you intelligent? Thus far, the media has done a very great job of making us all hate each other. The media has done a very good job of promoting every stereotype, I'm the 6'8" black guy that's coming to be over-sexualized. All I do is play basketball. And I wonder if the American populace is seeing exactly what's happening. And if we're not, where are we gonna be 10 years from now? Seriously. I hate labels. Labels were meant to weaken people. Labels were meant to categorize people in certain arenas. If you label me as black, that comes with something. If I label you as white, that comes with something. It means someone is better and someone is less. As much as I hate labels, I understand our addiction to race. So I'm a black man, so I plan to make black as beautiful of an experience as I can. And we've seen in the news the protests and whatnot, and we've seen people upset about Black Lives Matter and whatnot, saying it's polarizing. I believe all lives matter indeed, but if you understand the crisis that's upon us, saying that Black Lives Matter is not saying that another life is not as important. It's saying as Americans, this is an American issue. At dinner, we were discussing mass incarcerations. Obama is always in a crosshair. Does he stand for blacks? Does he stand for the rest of America? Mass incarceration of black men is an American issue. They're not black men, they're American. So if you say that's a black issue, you're saying we're not American. I think it's time we just, a student asked me today, how was I able to embrace my truth and who I am? It was after I lost everything. And in that space, I understood that all I had was my humanity. And whatever help I could take from anybody, black, white, green, blue, or alien, I would take it. A comfortable existence breeds an entitled attitude. And I think in America today, we've become very entitled. We want to be heard instead of understood. I think in humanity, it's better to be understood. I turn on the news, one pundit has an opinion, the other pundit has an opinion, and it's a debate. But who's really listening? What is really accomplished? What is really accomplished from me hating you and you hating me? Life passes by. My father has Alzheimer's, I repeat. If a Klansman comes in there and changes his diaper, he doesn't care. Because at the end of the day, time is our most valuable resource. And I don't plan to spend it fighting anybody for something as nonsensical as race. So I'm just happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to the conversation and be as candid as possible and be honest. And I asked everybody to stand, and I'm happy you did, because I know you're looking at me like I'm crazy. Because that's really my truth. I really believe everything of this existence we create. That's all I believe in. If I didn't believe in that, I'd be dead in prison like most of my peers. The only reality I believe in is what is. The greatest life is a constant battle against your disbelief. That's all life is. It's a constant battle against your disbelief and doubt. That's it. So I want to believe that we're better than this, man. I want to believe that there are more of us that love each other than hate each other, as much as the media wants to promote the other side, because I used to be filled with a lot of hate, whole lot. I got in fights on campus, the whole nine. I've learned that hate doesn't do anything to create more hate, and you die. And I gotta live in love, so I'm happy to be here. How you doing, Lizzie?
How you doing?
Great, I got a beautiful group of friends. I got new friends, I'm good.
Yeah, it's been a great day experiencing this with you and with the students in the National Agenda class. I think what they've been most interested in,
It's hot.
please, is how different was your experience on this campus from what students here have been experiencing? So the current issues on campus have caused UD to take a new look at itself. Dana asked this question: what can you tell us about your time here as a black student on a predominantly white campus?
Lindsay, when I came, I was coming from the islands. So as romantic and naive as it may sound, I didn't really understand race. Like, I just understood good and bad people. So when I came, of course, like anybody, before you come to the mainland, you study American television, you just understand these different things. When I came, it was an obvious rift. It was an obvious disconnect. And like I said when I spoke, now, looking back, that obvious rift was just knowledge. I remember one of my roommates, I went to turn on the VCR, and he was like, "Do you know how to operate that? I know you people dance around fires and all that type of craziness." And it was talks of, do you do voodoo and this type of craziness. What I saw was, we were very divided. We were very divided along racial lines. But I think the kids who suffered the most were the kids who were divided along racial lines and economic lines. Because our campus is more predominantly upper middle class. So if a student was black and from the inner city, it was like, that's a double whammy. I will say this though, the professors tried their hardest. The professors really tried to deal with those issues. I mean, we had issues on the campus where there was, in the halls, monkeys, go back to Africa, plenty of that. When I wrote for the Review, I did a story on segregation on campus, and I don't know if it's like that today, but we used to call the Russell in that area milk country. That was where majority of the white students resided, and we lived more in Pancata and Christiana Towers. So what I remember about the campus was the stereotypes we just dealt with, the stereotypes we fed each other. It was just the stereotypes we felt each other. And I could tell all those stereotypes, looking back, came from what we don't know. Like I told you earlier, if an alien landed from Mars and he turned on, and all he knew of black people was television, he would ask me where he could find some weed, a hooker, and want to fight. He'd be scared of me. So what I've learned is that we are all just a composite of what we've been fed, which says a lot about our adults. So, yeah.
Well, you have a following on Twitter, and I'll pull up a tweet
Oh, my
you
Twitter.
posted here.
Please censor the outlandish stuff. Nah, I'm missing.
Although you interview a lot of celebrities and
Stars,
rappers and artists, you said here, we spend hours consumed by reality TV, music, sports, and entertainment content, and the like that does zero for our human enrichment. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's blocking my view.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that we're not even living anymore, Professor Hoffman, where at the expense of entertainment, our humanity has been lost. I mean, you go to the cinema today. I remember, I observed certain things. Someone gets their head blown off. No one is cringing. We're laughing. Right now in Syria, we may be headed to World War III, really. If you look at the climate that's over there. We're more obsessed with, I hate to see these Kardashians, people just giving them more, but we're more obsessed with, Beyonce's new purse. I think in twofold that comes from, I think the American public is so jaded with what they used to believe in that they're looking for an escape. So I worked hard today. I'm living from check to check. I put on this reality show. I'm just gonna laugh. It's gonna get me away from our tragedy. But that's the danger of this. We're not aware anymore. Like I was saying at dinner, I don't believe in the word stupid. I believe there are people who are aware and people who are unaware. So at one time I was stupid. So when I said what I said that, where's our moral fabric? What do we believe in anymore? Is life one minstrel show? Like I said, there's a war in Syria. I'm not advocating on any side. I'm not a political person. I'm right in the middle. But these are issues. What are we really concerned about? We spend our days just following these celebrities, people. And it's we don't know ourselves.
Yet you interview
Yes.
celebrities
Yes, yes.
and rappers and hip hop
Yes.
artists. With NiteCap,
Yes.
what's your objective?
I created NiteCap because of that issue. I understand that the youth, artists, I would say that's a stretch. If your average world leader goes to a high school in America right now, and P. Diddy goes, which figure is gonna have the kids screaming more? So, for me, working in journalism for so many years, I said, okay, these are the people that have a voice. While you sit with me, I'm gonna demand that you say something of value. I'm gonna demand you say something of substance. Because I tell all this all the time. Trayvon Martin just died, right? You empower these people with your dollars. You go out, this is the crazy thing about the dichotomy of what's going on right now. A star is what you make. There is no star without you. So when a star says that I don't want to be a role model, you made him that. You are giving him a voice. So in your tragedy, a star is in turn supposed to give you a voice. But I don't blame the star, I blame our media. I think that our journalists have become more fans of just hanging out with cool people than demanding substance.
A couple weeks ago, this question comes from Tony, one of our students. DeRay McKesson used the phrase, creating space. He stated that we need to create the space to have conversations on race. Do you think that your show creates this kind of space that he's asking for?
Of course, but my space is it's not predictable. I had a conversation with Lil Boosie. When Lil Boosie went to prison, it was national news. People in the urban community made Boosie this legend for all the wrong reasons. So in typical fashion, it became a fad. Boosie comes home from prison, his brother wants him to get on the show. We sit down and we talk. And I told Boosie that personally I think it's ludicrous that young people in this community are glorifying the fact that you were in prison. And he looked at me, he said, "You're damn right." And then I went into, in our community, we hate each other so much. See, the harsh truth about this whole thing is that I hate liberal racism more than any other type of racism. Liberal racism is the guy who's highly educated. He says he loves black people, white people, green people. And he goes to the inner city and he speaks all this progressive jargon. But he doesn't live in that community. And his kids don't play with those kids. And when I try to move in his Upper East Side community, Peter, we could talk academia, but don't bring your black behind up in my community. See that guy in Oklahoma, that guy in Arkansas, without, he's struggling, he's desperate, he's mad at the world, and he's been fed that me as a black person is the reason why he's in his stupor. I could deal with that guy. Because his racism comes from fear and ignorance. It comes from lack of understanding. That racism I could deal with. It's the veiled, sophisticated, intellectual form that's the one that's destroying our country. So when Boosie and me said, and Boosie said, well, I said, why does it seem like we hate each other? We kill each other like animals as black men. So I understand the fight on racism, but what I understand is I'm more focused on what I can control. And I can control in my neighborhood treating my brother with love and respect. So when Boosie said, we're the worst race because we kill each other and all this, media cohorts did what they do best. When two black men sit down and speak honesty that maybe you don't want to hear because it doesn't sound all political, they just firestorm. Some folks from MSNBC and these other places, just firestorm. And my issue with that was this. If you have left the inner city and you've arrived, good. That conversation wasn't for you. But if you felt embarrassed because we're making black people look bad and you're in your corporate office And you still have, you play your boosie, but when you go into that office, you turn it off, you're still not free. So if you were upset that we were speaking that truth because you felt that we rocked your, I don't know, your arrival mode, the conversation wasn't for you. The conversation was about these black kids in the inner city that don't value their lives and they don't value each other. We were having a conversation today and about the activism and protests. And the harsh truth is, Professor Hoffman, that the people that's really in that community, they're not part of this. They're not part of these protests. They're not part of this activism. When they leave, Baltimore is still where it's at. The dope boy is still on the corner. They still kill each other. And the cameras left. The cameras left. On to the next show. And I'm not knocking activism. Because when I get pulled over and some cop wants to blow my head off, it's great to have somebody protest. But I believe in the layers of activism. So my conversation is, people get upset. People don't know how to box me. And in America, we love to box people. We love to, okay, I know him. He's gonna like this, he's gonna say this. No, I despise a Klansman as much as I despise a black leader that's pimping my community. I want to blow both their heads off. I just believe in the truth. Find me right in the middle. If you for love, peace, and positivity, I'm with you. So it's in America today, everything is an agenda. Everything. Because if someone is all the way with something, that doesn't make sense. Life is gray areas. No one is 100% right on anything. That doesn't make logical sense. So I tell people all the time when they try to, are you a Republican? Are you a Democrat? No, I'm human and I'm right where it all makes sense. So I'm proud of my culture and who I am, but I'm right where it makes sense. If some guy from Finland says something that makes sense, I dig that, okay. You know, it's what makes sense. In America, we need to start focusing on what makes sense.
So was the University of Delaware your first experience on the mainland then?
What are you trying to say? You think I just came on a banana boat? No. She said the main. Was this my first visit? No, I'm messing with you.
Outside of the Virgin Islands?
No, I came up here before. I came to the mainland before.
Well, I guess I'm trying to get at what your experience was and kind of acclimating to the culture at the University of Delaware.
Okay. Imagine, the first time I was in a classroom with a white person was in college. The first time I was in the Caribbean, there's a flip. All my images of power are black. My governor is black. My police chief is black. Poor, rich or not, my images of power is black. So I didn't have this concept in America, I was inferior. I'll tell you a funny story. My mom comes to visit, and this lady's falling around the store. My mother tells the lady, "You're so uncivilized." And the lady looked at my mom, "Is a black woman just tell me I'm uncivilized?" So it was a flip for me. And I didn't understand people treating me like I'm second. To this day, I don't tolerate it. I just did not understand people treating me like second and having I didn't understand the concept of privilege. I didn't really understand that concept, so my African American friends used to laugh at me. They was like, "Who the hell do you think you are?" And I would tell them I'm Mr. Bailey. But I just didn't understand. I just thought it was so primitive. I thought like, so you don't like me because I'm black? But you're in college. That type of mentality is reserved for idiots. It was foreign to me, man. And I felt that in America, we export a lot of things, but hate is one of our biggest exporters, sadly. So the reality was different. The first time there's a guy on campus, every time he would see me, he would say these racial things, and I try to avoid it. Then I knocked his ass out. Excuse my French. I knocked him out. You know, he just kept calling me these racial names, and I did not understand the concept. You know, and my first inclination is love. I believe in love first. But some people, they love evil. So at that time I was younger, and I just did not understand. I didn't understand the concept behind of that. And it would happen every time we would get drunk. Like you in a pair of white peers, the liquor comes and then the comments start happening. It's just weird, man.
What about the African American community on campus? Did you feel like you could identify with them?
No, we was talking about it. It was very bizarre. Naturally, when you come from a place and you're black, you're gonna acclimate to your people, to who looks like you. And when I came on campus, the African American students, we didn't fit in with them either. There was an incident, there was like a talent show, like a rap concert, and one of my buddies went up there to rap, and kids made fun of him. And back then, I wasn't all love kumbaya like I am now. At that time, you shoot at me, I shoot at you. So I didn't understand that concept. But what I will say was this. It wasn't, I won't say African American, I would say that the African American kids that were from an urban environment like New York City, Philadelphia, we all connected because most likely they had parents who were from the Caribbean. So it was at Delaware at that time, we had an amazing way of disliking each other for the craziest things. Like one of my roommates, I'm coming home and he's in the room, he says, oh, Peter's gonna bring his gang-banging buddies to shoot us up. I'm like, what is this guy talking about? To this, I credit that as just lack of knowledge, lack of knowing, you know?
Well, you know, a lot of our students are asking this semester, what can they do, particularly white students, what can they do to make sure that this is an inclusive environment for students of color?
I had an interesting conversation with a buddy of mine, a very prominent white conservative guy. You know, those guys who love Fox News and they just think everybody is lazy, who doesn't have money. And we get in this little debate. And he says, well, Peter, I didn't have slaves. My parents didn't have slaves. I said, but this is the key difference of the black reality in America. If me and you start from the bottom, self-made, I'm self-made, you can go off into oblivion. This right here, I can't escape that. I can literally possibly get my head blown off from an officer who just doesn't like me. So when people say, well, it's not my problem, yes, it is. Because this is America, we're citizens, we're one people. So every issue is our issue. And people talk about racism, and I say something that's politically incorrect. Racism is a very human thing. Let me explain. Human beings want the best possible outcome. Is inherently human because as human beings we're selfish. If there's a racist society and you benefit from it, you might not wear a mask and hang somebody, but you're gonna go rock that boat? You're good. And that's why I say that the whites who come out and stand are that's nobility. Because it's saying, I'm gonna get out of my comfort zone. So the kids on campus, be open, man. Be open. Show that there's more us than them. There's more people who love than hate. Because I'm dead serious, if we don't curb what's going on, this country is gonna cease and desist. If we don't really get, racism is like this girlfriend that we just can't get rid of. You know that crazy ex that just keeps coming around? But eventually she puts a bullet in you. Eventually she come home, she poisons you and we're all dead. So it's like, come on, when is this gonna stop? We're supposed to be a first world country. Like, when is it, this is ludicrous. Like, when is this gonna really stop, man? So the kids, but I'm so optimistic because these kids are aware now.
What did you think about your experience with the students today?
Man, I was, you wanna tell you the truth? When I was here, we were just a bunch of beer drinking party people. I swear. I mean, we was just out of control. What I saw today, these young people are very aware. They're tired. See, that's a beautiful thing. I think they're tired. I think if a white supremacist comes in here right now and wants to blow my head off, I think this whole room is gonna beat him up. He has a gun, I can't knock you off for not fighting back. But I think that we're tired. And I think that this generation of kids I spoke to are so amazing because they have power. There's no more gatekeepers now. and they're in tune, and our future rests on their shoulders. But after spending time today with them, I like our chances.
Well, another thing that you've tweeted is about social media in particular, how social media has made this era, and all of our students are actively engaged with social media, both deceitful and honest in the same breath. What did you mean by that?
Social media is a tool, like anything else. It has the power to do such amazing things. Look at what's going on. But it also has the power to feed lies. I think our human is an innate desire to be accepted. So if you notice with social media, it's groupthink. We like to follow Lamar Odom is in the hospital. A week ago, everyone was calling him a crackhead. The media was calling him a crackhead, he's a loser, he's this, he's that, he's that. And I really hope he recovers. It's a very sad story. But now is hundreds of hashtags. Get well, Lamar. We love you, Lamar. That's what I mean about disingenuous. 75% of people don't give a damn about Lamar Odom. It's that their favorite celebrity is tweeting, get well, so everybody else is doing it. And that's my issue with the groupthink. With the groupthink. When Trayvon died, everyone started to wear a hoodie. Did you really care? Or it was this is cool right now? That's my issue with that.
Well, I think by now, everyone in the audience is aware that you like to speak truth to power.
Sets us free, man. I get to sleep at night.
And one of my students, Gertie, says, you often tweet about sharing truth. Why do you think it's so powerful for people to share their own stories, particularly these rappers and hip-hop artists who ordinarily aren't asked to do that?
Imagine, let's have a social experiment. Imagine if everyone spoke the truth. Everybody. You probably won't have any problems. Because if you tell me your truth, when that guy emailed me and said, dude, I'm white, I said, what? You like my radical behind? What I'm trying to say is, when you speak truth, I can understand you. But when you lie to me, you disrespect me. If, Professor Hoffman, if you're sitting with me, man, I can't stand this guy for whatever reason, but you're just smiling with me, nothing was accomplished there. Nothing. What we do today is we tell each other what we want to hear. I want my white friends to tell me, well, Peter, you guys talking about fight the police, but you black guys kill each other every day. Tell me that. So then we could arrive at some honest discourse about it. But don't smile and tell me, oh man, I'm so sorry for you. Yeah, it's so pitiful what's going on with you and the police. And then you jump in your car, oh, those damn black people so violent. Truth is a liberator, man. Don't you feel good when you admit something? Like if I'm in a relationship and I did something messed up and I tell a lady this is what happened, I can breathe. Truth just is, it's freedom. You know, lies, the truth lives on. Lies always die. Lies always die. Truth always lives, and it always comes to the surface eventually.
So you interview so many hip-hop artists and
Yes.
rappers, and like for you interviewed Boosie, for example. This
Yes.
video has almost 400,000 views.
Yes.
He said he used drugs more in jail than on the streets in this particular interview. So again, very truthful interview. Our speakers 2 weeks ago were Netta Elzie and DeRay McKesson. They pointed out that 1 in 3 black boys will be incarcerated. Can the hip-hop community or the rap community address this problem? Is there anything that they can or should be doing to talk to young African-American boys?
We had a discussion about this. The average person that's outside of the entertainment business gives entertainers a little bit too much. They work for somebody. I can't tell you how many of these record execs I'll try to sit with me. End of the day, in the inner city, there's dope boys in the corner. Where they getting the dope from? The supplier. The supplier has the power. Your average rap artist is a guy in the hood trying to get out the hood with no options. So if singing about whatever craziness is going to get him and his mother out the projects, he's going to do that. That's capitalism. I mean, that's capitalism. So the onus is on the artist when they've reached a certain level of awareness. But most of your entertainers are trying to just survive. They're like, see, fame is a very fascinating thing. People think with fame comes this I'm out of here, we're good. No, they're just famous. So the responsibility lies on the people behind the scenes. There's a lot of educated people that work at record labels. Anytime I do business, the publicists, the A&R, the executives, they went to college. Where are their social responsibility? But to your point, yeah, I slam the artists, I challenge the artists a lot, because at the end of the day, you know, Professor Hoffman, in life, we're all gonna answer to what we put out. Whatever I put out in the universe is gonna come back to me. I know that from personal experience. I can't see when it's gonna come back, but it's gonna come back. So, and I tell the artists that all the time, so yes, they do. And I said something earlier, I said that this is the weakest, most cowardly assortment of artists. I think guys like Marvin Gaye, guys like Marlon Brando, guys like Harry Belafonte, they stood for something. Brando was the biggest movie star in the world. He was out there marching. We can't get these guys to get out of Beverly Hills for nothing. But stop, let's not blame them. Let's look at us. We empower them. We give them this entitlement. So it's us. A star is what we create. People have it backwards. A star is nothing without you as an audience, as a fan base. So we have to question ourselves if our artist, and artist is a vessel. The gift of art is to express your truth to the masses. So if our artists are politically apathetic and apathetic to social issues, we are.
So that's a really interesting point. You've talked about the exploitation of inner city culture and gimmicks in the hip hop industry.
Yes.
And
you're a big hip hop fan, ain't you?
I like to do my research.
You know why I dwell on hip hop? Not to interrupt you. Bigotry might not want to admit it. Hip hop is the most dominant, influential art form on the planet. It's the new rock and roll. Mm-hmm. I know there's some old guy right now, Roderdra, that doesn't want to admit it, but the hip hop artists are the new rockers. And they dictate the culture.
Is that why you want to speak sort of
course,
through them?
Influence, yes.
Yeah.
If the kids listen to them, they're not gonna. I would love to have 3 beautiful college professors talk about social issues. Who wants to watch that? Let's be honest.
Everyone here?
No, the truth. I'm gonna take that back. You're a rock star, Professor. You're a rock star. You're a rock star. I'm gonna get beat up.
You've had so many interesting interviews with these artists. I sort of pulled this. One thing I like that you do in the end of your clips, you sort of point out a quote, an interesting quote from the interview. And so in your interview with Raekwon of Wu-Tang, he talked about the problem of being seen as a gimmick versus being authentic. How do you know when an artist is being truly authentic? And is there a problem with making it a gimmick versus being truly authentic?
It's very much a problem. And I explained this to a buddy of mine. For people with parents who are both educated and have good understanding, it's just entertainment. Little Tommy in Brandywine, that's the suburbs here right here, he could listen to a certain body of work and his parents give him that understanding that, yo, this is just fun, it's entertainment. The kids in Baltimore and Wilmington, no, they live by that. In their minds, this is what it is. I'm a dope boy, this is how I'm gonna make it out. We discussed something that you were surprised that I said. I love the success of any black man getting out the hood. But why is it the constant image fed of black success is a Jay-Z, is a 50 Cent? And I love those guys, it's nothing against them. But why is the constant narrative of the black male success, I was a dope dealer, I was a criminal, and I rose to the top? What message does that send to kids? What it sends to kids is, I could be Jay-Z. So you got a million little homies in the inner city trying to get there and they're all losing their lives over that. That's the issue with a gimmick. I believe, honestly, the world just dances to the rhythm of our pain. I travel, I see people dancing to certain music. They don't understand what's really going on. But there's a plus to that. The plus side is that when you hear this, you're still hearing it. So subconsciously, you have some level of understanding this. Because I get a lot of parents, the show is really cool because I'm like a bridge. So these parents in suburban communities, okay, I can finally listen to who this guy is my kid is listening to because this is an internal conversation. So they start to get it. If you look at what hip hop has done for race relations, it's interesting. You can't really fully hate a black guy anymore when all your kids are bobbing to his music. How can you hate me if the musician your kids idolize look like me? So it's interesting, you know?
Well, what do you think about, you've talked about media, popular media, like there are a lot of black faces on television now, Scandal and How to Get Away with Murder.
Yeah.
What about the show Empire, which sort of glorifies this?
Okay, let's talk about Scandal and Empire. So we have this show, a black woman. So we already have this stereotype that the black woman can't find stable love because there's no good black men. So this hit show, the black woman is having an affair. She doesn't have a stable husband. She is the toy of the, let's just be honest.
The president.
Let's be honest. If you really think about it, there's already a stereotype of black women not being able to find true love. So once again, it's reinforced. So let's go back to Empire. I will say this about Empire. It's on Fox, right? The last time I checked, Fox News can't stand the dirt I walk on. The last time I checked Rupert Murdoch, we know his history on civil rights and whatnot. So now all of a sudden, they want to promote a black show with a black cast. Just so happens that the star of the show was an ex-drug dealer, the Cookie. Her name is Cookie. Yeah, Cookie. She is this mad woman and whatnot. But, so you look at kids growing up in the city, like I said, it's entertainment. So I'm not saying to censor people because it's entertainment. The problem is for kids without a foundation, that is not entertainment to them. That is reality. Having said that, I am not going to negate Lee Butler's success because any form of success pushes the needle forward. So maybe with the success of Empire, now more substantive shows with people of color can come into fruition. That's the audience in me saying that.
Okay.
Bill O'Reilly's also on Fox, right?
That's
I think a couple of years ago, he said that Michelle needs to be lynched or something. Some crazy thing, yeah, like, same network, right? So, okay, cool.
I don't recall.
Yeah.
I wanted to we're going to open it up to questions from the audience in about 5 minutes. And my teaching assistant, Abby, is tweeting at me, sending me messages. If you want to have a question asked, just tweet at UD Race in America. That's at UD Race in America. I noticed that in a lot of your interviews, you like to ask if you had a superpower, what would it be? Mm-hmm. So first, what would your superpower be? And second, why do you ask that question?
I asked everybody in here to say that they believe in more than what can be than what is. We're creators, man. I think we're fed this crazy thought that everything that exists is what is. Somebody built this college. Somebody built CNN. He's no different than anybody in here. I believe that the human mind can do incredible things, push to the limit. My superpower, to be invisible. I can see you if I don't see you. If you know I'm looking at you, I can't see you. If you know I'm not looking at you, then I can see you. Make sense?
No.
If you know I'm looking at you, you're going to adjust to tell me what I want to hear.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think one thing that the students in the class that I'm teaching that's a part of this program is we talk about white privilege as being this sort of invisible backpack that white students carry around with them, that they have the privilege of walking around this campus in particular and in a lot of other spaces and being invisible. What was that like for you to realize that you were not invisible on this campus as a 6'8"?
Never. It's funny you say that because my career has been an interesting one. When you're a black male, just look at it. If you are not very non-threatening, high-pitched voice, little bit effeminate, it's hard for you. I'm 6'8", I have a deep voice. I don't like to be cool. I'm not gonna walk in anyone's office and be the cool guy. I'm not here to entertain you. So for me, yeah, I can't not go unnoticed. On campus, I have an uncanny way of gravitating to people who just love. If you're a person who is negative, I don't give you much energy. I just don't. I think in life, we do a beautiful job of focusing on all the bad, and there's this like beautiful sun over here. 2 people drive through the desert. The car has no AC. One comes back and says, it was so damn hot, I was sweating, I'm miserable. One comes back and said, man, the windows were down, I could feel the breeze. I'm that person. So I don't pay attention to negative people at all. Life's short, Professor Hoffman.
So I think before we toss it over to questions from the audience, how did you end up at University of Delaware?
White lady came down to the islands now and said, I have this wonderful school that gets you off this island, I'm coming. I honestly, okay, in that environment, you gotta be like the best. Like, when you're coming from that space, so me and a couple
Did you know you wanted to come to Delaware?
Professor, I was just trying to get off of an island. It's funny because, to be honest with you, my father is a brilliant guy. A lot of basketball recruiters wanted me to go to a black college. There's nothing against black colleges, we need them, they're very important. But he said, Peter, you're going to America. You need to see America. So that's why he sent me to the most lily-white university you can. And to this day, I have some beautiful friends. Like the same guy I punched, he's a good friend of mine. Yeah. But that's what it was. I love to challenge myself. I like to step out my comfort zone.
Would you, looking back, have gone somewhere else?
No, I love this school. As much issues I've had here, it's a magical place. Delaware, I tell people, is very utopian. Because you know what's interesting? We may have racial issues on campus, but the state, the people themselves are not, like, I didn't get that from it was weird. Like, I don't know, the students, we come in and mess up the people's like, beautiful state. You know, it's weird. People here are friendly people. They're very, you know, it's a middle class environment, it's a friendly place. I loved it, to be honest with you. I love this state. Although most people don't even know it's a state. I live in Miami, Delaware. What the hell is Delaware? That's like when you stop on a road trip to use the, but yeah, people like, that's where you stop, you're on the way to New York or Philly, you gotta use the bathroom, like, but I love it, man. I think, like I said, it's weird because the people in Delaware themselves are cool. I don't feel that energy. It's like we come as students with our own baggage, it's weird.
Well, hearing about the events that took place at UD just a few weeks ago, we've talked about this in this very room, the alleged nooses that were hung from a tree, the Black Lives Matter movement coming out and talking on the green about real experiences at UD. Were you shocked, or did you sort of expect this? What did it feel like to you to hear that news?
Professor Hoffman, you say you're not a journalist, but you asked a tough question. No, I wasn't shocked. Like I said, the university, I've had those issues for years. I was shocked it made it to the mainstream media. I don't know who does PR for the school. Come on, y'all need to tighten up. You guys need to tighten up. It's called damage control. I don't know how they reached USA Today, because when I was here, those guys were crafty. If something like that happened, oh no, there was no reporters coming around here. So I was surprised it got to the mainstream press. That was surprising.
It's part of the new media environment too, I think.
Okay.
Once it's out there, it gets spread around.
Man, okay, so yeah, I was like, man, this is crazy. I wasn't surprised. But that's also this is weird I'm saying this, that's also the cool thing about this university. They're so damn honest. Now from that incident, we could turn it into a positive because now it's out in the open. You guys had a wonderful rally to address it. So imagine like most campuses where people feel like that, they don't expose it, and they go along their merry way. Now it was addressed, so you can expose it, you can address it. So you could find the beauty in the ugly, you know? So,
Okay, thank you so much. Let's open it up to questions from the audience. I've got a few questions on Twitter here, but let's open it up to a student in the audience. Do I have a student who wants to ask a question? Just raise your hand.
you guys are more bold than this, come on.
Yeah, come
It's
on.
a college campus.
It's a little hard for me to see. Yes, Jordan.
What do you make of the new media landscape with involving social media and the internet?
I think that,
So if I can repeat for the purpose of the video, what do you think of the new media landscape? How is that changing journalism? How is that changing your job and how you do your job?
I think the internet has democratized media. I think this generation has more power than we've ever had. There are no gatekeepers now. There are literally no gatekeepers. If I wanted to write an article for Time, there was a guy at the top office, and I had to keep explaining to him why this is important. And most likely he didn't get the nuances. Peter, what are you talking about? Who the hell is Waka Flocka? What is a Waka Flocka? Like literally, now young people have this power. The problem with that power is how we're using it. That's the problem. Social media is a tool like anything else. We have all the power, so how we're using it. So I think there needs to be a good balance. You know, the young people love to bash the older generation. Oh, they're washed up. This is the problem, though, with that foolish thinking. Information remains the same. There is nothing new under the sun. This generation has more tools to do better with the information. But where are you getting the information? The older folks. The older folks. You know, my mother is 72 years old. And I'm having lunch with this little whippersnapper. I call, you know, upstart. Little young cat, works in a magazine. Where do you go to for a lot of your ideas? I said, my mother. Because he was bashing old people and all this nonsense. He said, your mother? I said, yes. In a confrontation, youth and experience will always prevail. Always.
Well, and you mentioned earlier you're a big history buff. Why is it important for students of this generation to study history and understand
The pyramids were built when? And we still can't figure out the wisdom that created these things. They were built when? We still can't figure out the wisdom that was, come on, we still can't figure it out. I study ancient history, the generals, Hannibal, Attila the Hun. I study every war general, Julius Caesar, Alexander the Great. War is life. A general must understand management. He must understand sacrifice. He must understand loyalty. He must understand perseverance. Ancient history is a beautiful thing. I'm obsessed because they didn't have all these distractions. They didn't have E. They didn't have E. They were understanding nature and understanding. I repeat, the pyramids were built, and there was no electricity. How did those people do that?
They had no blueprint. Let's take a question from Twitter. What value do you see in identifying as Black? Is it something to be proud of? Should we toss it aside to be American?
Like I said, I love the term human. But we're so obsessed with race that, like I said, I'm gonna be Black. I'm gonna make it a beautiful experience. I think I'm an idealist. It would be an amazing day when we could reach a point where we're just all human, man. That would be an amazing thing. But something tells me, man, we had a debate about Dylan Roof, the guy that shot all those people. You know what I think? We have a lot to blame with that. Imagine if we didn't give so much attention to hateful news stories. Imagine if we didn't make this thing such an issue. Would Dylan think that he would be a legend if he realized nobody cared about this stuff? We care about it so much. We make money off it. There's books, there's theories, you know. I love what we're doing here because Professor, what you're doing, you're not bringing in the typical conversation about it. I don't want to hear the typical, oh, bash the man. I don't have time for that. I think the rhetoric on race needs to change. I don't react to life. I think it's very powerless. If you I run a business. If I run my business based on what you are going to do for me, that's like so counterproductive. I believe that we have to empower ourselves. You have to. That's the game of life. It's chess. So what the average person will say, my same buddy, he's like, well, Peter, yes, I didn't have slaves. You're 100% right with your theory, your rhetoric, but Peter, I'm still gonna make my money and go about my merry way. That's life, you know? And I think that when we understand that this discourse needs to change, because these kids, I just said, if their average musical idol looks like me, what we see going on in America today is these kids, they're fighting against that. They're tired. Their parents are saying something, the kids aren't hearing it. They're not. They're getting tired of that. And it's like, if that generation doesn't let these kids breathe and be free and be human, we're all gonna go up in smoke.
I think that the generational distinction is really interesting, and you sort of border this generation,
Yes, I do.
generational difference between Generation X and millennials, which I do it too, but I wonder how you're sort of using that to your advantage to reach out to young people by sort of speaking to them through the voices that they're listening to.
I'm gonna tell you how. I think there's a little interesting thing. I got a little theory. Folks maybe think I'm crazy, but the world is gonna depend on 30 to 39. Let me explain. That little window, we understand the values that make sense a little bit, but we also understand this new generation, right? We also understand we're relevant to this new generation. Guys older, they just can't even understand what's going on. I got in a debate on a radio station. I speak. I don't like a filter. And one of I think it was a freedom rider, like very elderly gentleman got on the phone. And we were talking about the civil rights movement and the methods. And I said, quite frankly, that doesn't work right now. And he felt I was disrespectful. I didn't tell him this, but I said to myself that, no, you're just not in tune right now. You understand? It's this incredible shift going on. I said that window, what is it, Generation Xers you call it? That window are entrepreneurs, but to your point, we were not as political as this new generation, so that's a problem.
Mm-hmm. And someone asked on Twitter, do you trust our young people with the future of America?
I just said it earlier, man. If they don't, I mean, honestly, it's on them. It's on these students right here. Because look at America. Like, I don't think we understand what's real. A cop just stood up, aimed, took fire, and shot a guy in the back. And we got guys on Fox News finding a way to justify this. So so what you have now, you have some whites who are just now, I'm okay. And then you have some, okay, we're gonna kill them, and we just going back and forth. And the beauty, I think, these kids, it's beautiful to get to call people kids that I go. Anyway, so they get it. I listen to them. They're like, what that person said on CNN is a pile of crap. Let me go and research it on my own. We didn't do that. Whatever was on the news, we just took it for face value, forgetting someone owns this platform. And if you own it, as I left and I became independent, I became more business-minded. And I used to forget, media is a business. Idealists tend to forget that. Idealists tend to forget that we're journalists. We want to comfort the afflicted, afflict the comfort, in the words of Joseph Pulitzer. That guy that went to Wharton Business School as a head of sales and marketing, no, he wants ratings. And in today's era, that's what's going on. That's why we see this situation with Syria. We're nearly on the brink of World War III. And the media is just Putin just basically went after Obama on national TV, saying that We left the vacuum that created ISIS. You ask the average young person in this room, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? They're watching a reality show though. So at the earlier tweet I said about entertainment, what's the fallout? In business, you got a fallout, right? When you make a profit, you have a fallout. Our humanity, that's the fallout. And I think, but these kids get it. They're hip to this stuff. They feel like they understand. What they do with that is what I'm hopeful of.
All right, got a lot of faith in you guys out there. Let's take another question from the audience. Yes, I see a hand up over there.
Right, you've talked about the dialogue that you see in, for example, let's choose empire,
Yes.
drugs,
Yes.
sex, can't find it. Have you found that in your discourse with the hip hop artists, they're changing their dialogue to be a little bit more positive?
You know what the truth is, my man? There's a whole generation of hip hop artists that are conscious and socially conscious. They can't get on the radio. There's a whole Common, Most Def, I could go along, they can't get on the radio. So that's why I go back to business. There's a whole generation of positive, socially conscious artists, you will never hear them on the radio. They have huge fan bases and large audiences. So like I repeat, the onus is on the consumer base. When we tell these people, we're tired of this negative debauchery, it'll change. But until it keeps getting consumed, we are idealists. I can tell you're probably an idealist as well. The average guy who's running a record label or a radio station, he's trying to make money. So the positive conscious artists, they're out here. They don't have an outlet.
I think this is a really good point about the consumer because you look back at the 60s and you mentioned
it was
some early
different.
artists. Yeah, I mean, think about Bob Dylan and a lot of other artists that were very politically minded. And there are artists like that now, Kendrick Lamar, Ludacris, I think there are a couple of examples, but you're saying they're not getting the same kind of airplay?
Hell no. Hell no. Conscious, not even in a black sphere, does conscious anything sell? I mean, reality TV has taken over. We got shows, what's the group in Louisiana, these people running around hunting ducks and stuff, like, does conscious intellect sell anywhere in America? America is facing the age of anti-intellectualism. It's just, we're dumbing down. We just are, look at it. We don't even speak anymore. We text. I told somebody, if you tell me you miss me, I don't want to hear a text, I want to hear your voice. What is LOL? What is IJS? All this nonsense. It's like the whole society has been dumbed down. And I'm not a doctor, but every doctor knows that brain food strengthens the mind and leads to overall health. I don't believe in conspiracies, but why are we being so dumbed down? Think about it. It's just a bunch of Scooby-Dooby-Doo nonsense. It's hip-hop is everything. It's the culture, you know?
Let's take another question from the audience. Yes, over here.
So you mentioned Most Def in common. I grew up on Most Def.
There you go. There you go.
Just a stroke of luck as a white man. That's
Yeah.
what I grew up on listening to. So as a new generation of hip-hop artists are emerging, who can we look to and trust to be maybe that voice? Is it
The one they have out is probably Cole and Kendrick, but man, the Yabba Dabba Doo is doing really well. You know, and you know what? Let's be real. There's a place for everything. If you're in a nightclub, you're having fun, you can hear some Yabba Dabba Doo. There's balance. The key to life is balance. No one wants to be preached to all day, every day. The problem in American society, there's no balance. In other words, all you have is Yabba Dabba Doo. You know, that's it. So, like, it's really on the audience, man. People have this whole thing twisted. The people are the power. It's the people are the power. So if the consumer is saying this is what we want, what does a business person do? Give it to them, take money.
So what do you listen to?
I'm a jazz nut. As a creative person, I need to relax and calm down. I can't take all that yabba dabba. I can't take that stuff in my brain. It gives me a headache. I listen to old school Tupac a lot. He had a real profound message. I think Tupac was the most misunderstood artist in our culture ever. The guy was amazing. I listen to a lot of Coltrane. To me, jazz is the music of the intellect. It's improv. I listen to R&B. I like melody. You know, the hip hop I listen to is more the storytelling. Even Mobb Deep, those older guys. The new generation, Kendrick. I love Drake. I like Drake a lot. The guy is he's the Marvin Gaye of his generation. You know, I don't want to agree with everything, but he's honest, and I dig honesty. Yeah.
Okay, another question from the audience. Yeah, right here.
We talked a lot about individual racism, but have you ever experienced institutional?
Hell yeah, my brother, hell yeah.
So let me just say the question. You talked about individual racism, but have you ever experienced institutional
Hell yeah,
racism?
that's why I started my own show. I'll call them out, I don't care. I'm independent. When I was at the Herald, that's many instances. When I was at the Herald, I go in the bathroom and I'm using the urinal, and one of the editors, oh, here comes another affirmative action hire. This black guy thinks he's so-and-so, he only got to judge he's black. I wrote for Time Magazine, won awards, Newsweek, Village Voice, but I'm the affirmative action hire. Fusion, the new network. I go down there, they reached out to me, and I go in for rehearsals, and one of the hosts, as I walk on, well, we got a real brother in here, huh? Hell yeah, I face it. But I have learned to turn my struggle into my commodity, you know, but of course I face it. When I moved to Miami, I got arrested for nothing. During Memorial Day weekend, they don't like black people coming down there to South Beach. So what they do, they let the cops run wild and just arrest a bunch of people. Just so you have a bad taste in your mind, you don't come back as a black person. So this cop just saw me and just shackled me, threw me in the car. Yeah, threw me in the car, waved his gun all in my face, drunk, acting crazy. Yeah, that's not the first time that's happened. Yeah, it's happened to me. I wrote a column about it a couple of weeks ago. My buddy and me were out in Miami, and this cop, there was a homeless guy, and we gave the homeless guy some money. The cop runs out the car, gun running after us, gun on us, thinking we're drug dealers. You see how I dress. I'm not being stereotypical, but look, a drug dealer. So we're trying to explain to the guy, we just gave the man a couple dollars. The homeless guy, no, he was just giving us money. Shut the F up, I'll put a bullet in you, da da da. And then somebody recognized me, yo, that's Peter. Then he was like, oh, that's a daily thing. I won't say daily. Man, I look at it like this. I'm not gonna let that destroy me. I can't, you know. I'm wiser. Like I said, I hope that stuff like when that happens to you, though, to be honest with you, it scars you. And that's why when you ask a black male about cops, personally, when I see an officer to this day, as educated as I am, I'm paranoid. There's not a sense of safety that comes around me. And I'm not as you can see, look at the space I'm in. So imagine that guy in the corner. So literally, to this day, if I'm driving and a cop is behind me, I get anxious, automatically. It's in my psyche, I'm a black man in America.
What is your response to the Black Lives Matter movement that we've seen so much from over the past year? I know you're not a political activist, but do you agree with the tactics that they've taken to?
I support anybody who wants to talk about injustice, but there's a way about going about things. Jumping on the podium with Bernie Sanders, I didn't see the point of that. Not even checking Bernie's track record. My fear with this is this. My fear with activism, period, is this. The world is in shades of gray. I'm always in fear of anyone with a very forceful agenda. My issue with everything is this. When the cameras go, when this isn't a cool story anymore, are we still concerned? When these leaders come in there and give their flowery speeches, and they get paid by somebody paying for all this, doesn't matter. I support, though, the concept of Black Lives Matter, fighting for injustice, right? I support that. What I will not support is if it turns into this cool factor thing, where it turns into this trending thing, where it turns into something fashionable. Black Lives Matter is cool. No, I want to see, I think that I have an issue with people who fight everything. A friend of mine, when I was in college, I was a radical, I was very left. And when I came out in life, I had very certain business peers. One of the same conservative guy, he said, when you start to elevate, you're going to change your little thinking a little bit. I didn't change it, but what I understood, there's ways to fight things. And I've seen getting you to understand me and not putting you on the defensive is a better means. Having said that, it serves a purpose, though. Activism serves a purpose. It serves a purpose, but that can't be the only route. Fighting for justice is a circular effort. It's two-pronged. It comes from the political level, it comes from the economic level. And what, in my opinion, what we have in America is economic injustice. I don't focus on racism anymore. When we looked at the black men that were killed by cops, there was not one that was killed in the affluent community. When Peter Bailey has a kid, chances are that's not happening to my kid. Because in this country, we associate poverty with, we look at the poor and we put them in a category, they don't matter. The problem in this country, black is normally synonymous with poor. What we have in this country is an economic injustice. People who are economically empowered, one, they have better lawyers to fight stuff. They're viewed in different ways. Let's just be honest. A lot of times you're in Miami, a ball player goes to a club. The club owner can't stand his black behind. He understands that money. I have not met a racist yet that won't do business with me. So I don't know one racist that won't make money with me on a business endeavor.
So overtly racist people will do business with you?
Did you just ask that? When you go, hold up. People own restaurants and all these rappers come in to spend that bill. Do you know what they're saying in the kitchen? Do you know what these club owners, when these black celebrities come in there, do you know what they're saying? One thing I've noticed, this is a capitalist society. Black people in any disenfranchised group need economic power. And my issue with activism is this. When you keep telling somebody their destiny and their future is in the hands of somebody doing something, I can't live like that. I'm not going to keep asking somebody to like me. We could coexist, but I'm not going to keep asking you to give me something. I'm not going to keep doing that. But there is a necessary place for activism. I just think it's supposed to be balanced. I don't like the idea of the media picking certain people and movements to lead anybody. I'm very wary of that. I won't call his name, but I'm just very leery of any media company promoting anybody to be my leader.
Mm-hmm. I think we have time for one more question from the audience. Yes, over there. Yeah.
So earlier on, you illustrated to us pretty clearly that it's pretty evident that racism is a learned behavior.
Is what?
It's a learned behavior.
Of course.
Racism is a learned behavior.
Of course.
So it's very difficult to point out to someone when privilege is so invisible that some of the things that they think are normal are actually inherently racist.
Mm-hmm.
But we have race baiting now, where people just don't even see like the injustice they've committed against other people because it just seems normal to them. So how do you break that cognitive dissonance? How do you break the defensiveness?
I told somebody something. We are all suffering for such politically correct nonsense that is crazy. Something happened the other day. There's a a friend of mine, this white lady was just acting crazy, just mean to him. And he was like, yo, this racist. I said, man, I don't think the lady racist. So I talked to the lady. Her husband left her, ran out with all her money. So she was just mad at everybody that day. Is everyone homophobic and racist? Nah, a lot of us just miserable. A lot of us just angry, so, and the problem with that defensiveness is, how are we gonna have a conversation if everything is a fight? So if everybody's fighting for a cause, okay, we got I've ran out of how many causes going on in America right now. There's a whole lot of them. So if we're on this bridge and everybody's fighting for their cause, where are we going with this? And if everybody's just defensive, I told a friend of mine with the transgender community, and I love everybody, I don't really care. And I told my buddy, yo, I don't understand this. And he's transgender. I know this guy. Some activist with the, oh, you homophobic, so-and-so. He's like, yo, stop. He's just saying he doesn't understand it. Educate me on it. So it's this, and I go back to that agenda. If black people were self-sufficient, successful, would a lot of these people have jobs? I repeat, if disenfranchised communities empowered themselves, learned to economically empower themselves, would a lot of these people have a platform or a brand to push?
So ultimately, you're saying that conversations like this are very important?
Honesty is important, hell yes. Honesty is important. I'd rather you tell me your truth even if you hate me, because then we could talk about it.
All right, well, I tell you what, we're continuing this conversation over the course of this semester. A week from tonight, we have a stand-up comedian, an Iranian-American named Maz Jabrani. He will be selling his books. He'll be autographing them. His book is called I'm Not a Terrorist, but I've Played One on TV. He will be selling those after the event just a week from tonight. Let's give a big round of applause to Peter. Thank you so much for coming back.